G'day and welcome to this episode for the Road to Recovery for the Southern Gold Coast. It's my pleasure to welcome here on behalf of the Greater Southern Gold Coast Chamber of Commerce. My name is Zac, and joining me today to talk about the Road to Recovery for the hospitality industry is Steve Edgar, General Manager for the Surf Club Coolangatta and General Member for the Greater Southern Gold Coast. How are you, Steve?
I'm going great, thanks, Zac, and thanks for inviting me along. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to have you with us. Now, I purposefully omitted your sort of history through the hospitality industry because I thought there's no one better to talk about that than yourself. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the role you've played in the industry?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess it started a long time ago. I wasn't born into hotels, but my parents bought a pub in Victoria when I was 10. So I sort of was blooded fairly early with hospitality. I just sort of hung around the industry a little bit when I left school, and I probably got serious with in clubs in the mid-90s when pokie started in Queensland. Clubs got a bit more serious. I was about 94, I think I became a duty manager of Maroochydore Surf Club, or assistant manager, I think I was. And I just sort of moved through the ranks there and worked hard to progress every time. I managed my first club in 2003. So that was 17 years ago. So I've been general manager for all that time across a number of venues, and I've been lucky enough to work with a heck of a lot of clubs in that time and get exposed to different, RSLs and football clubs and surf clubs and all that sort of stuff. So it's been great to experience all of that. So it's so far so good.
Yeah, so big history. You've got a good knowledge on how the industry sort of works. So it sort of makes sense then to lead into our first question for this episode, which is basically if there's one, and I like to see a bit of a silver lining in everything in life. I think with COVID-19, the silver lining here is it's really taught everyone the absolute importance of the ability to adapt. So in your opinion, how did the hospitality industry adapt, and did they do a good enough job? Did it work, or could have they done better?
I think time will tell, Zac. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's taught us all to adapt in every walk of life. So far some are adapting. I'm not sure. Time will tell whether some people are successful or not. But history tells me that the strong clubs will continue to get stronger, and the weak ones may very well fall by the wayside. It's the biggest. It's certainly the biggest issue to face business industry in my time. Anyway, it just got really real very quickly. So the good clubs I see out there, it made us really realise was a real catalyst to sort of say, right, heck, well, what's going on here? I think we're all in shock for, I think it was in a 2-week period. We're also like, what the heck was that? Then me personally, I'm on a couple of support networks with our club industry managers and stuff, and we're a little bit inward looking and like to keep it. To start with, because I remember that fateful Monday. I stood in front of 63 of my staff and had to stand them all down. It was a terrible time as well. And in these times, people look to leaders to say, right, well, how do I get out of this? What's going on? So as I said, I was really lucky. We can't look too far ahead, but we have to operate with sort of trying to keep as informed as possible. Let's not panic. And we developed the regime of thinking that we'll operate in 2-week blocks. So we met through Zoom and stuff every 2 weeks and just kept informed with the plethora of knowledge was coming our way with everything, and just sort of got through the shock, how we're going to deal with the introduction of JobKeeper, get our staff all settled down. We didn't want to lose anybody. Then the next stage for us was to try and, what can we do? And was certainly we were shut up shop and we just didn't know what to do. So it was, personally, we had to deal with things that we hadn't had to deal with before. It's like, well, we're stood down too. So we're lucky we had JobKeeper, but a lot of managers had to access it. Through that, then it was like, what do we do? So we in our case, we've got about 25,000 social members of our club. A lot of those are online with. We decided that we're going to take our business to the cyber world, and we developed, did some videos on, lifesaver checking, staff interviews, and had the chef do some online cooking stuff. So Did some online members draws and things like that. So it was just sort of trying to get people engaged a bit and just sort of try and keep them in touch. So when the inevitable time come and we're going to reopen, that they weren't too far away. So, and we've also taken the chance to do some renovations and get a bit sharpened up with what our offer's going to be. So we're looking forward to Saturday when we reopen. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think the Surf Club Coolangatta has done so well, is you embrace the social media world. You really, did some really unique things that probably haven't been done before, and probably wouldn't have been done without the influence of having to close doors and think outside the box. And it just goes to show the ability that one has in that moment to just make that outside of the box idea work.
Yeah, as I said before, it's a bit like playing footy, or if you're a boxer, you get a smack in the head and you get a bit dozy for a minute or two. Then you sort of got to shake it off and get some clarity. We spoke about that a lot as a group, as a management team.
Yeah.
And that was certainly the one thing we could do was jump straight into socials. And we're really lucky that we've got an awesome lady who looks after our digital media. And I'm really pleased with what we've done. And we're really well placed as we move into reopening. It's all about information and making sure people are up to speed with communication as well. So, we had a chance to have a look at our business and sort of, all of a sudden we were stopped. It's like, what are we doing well? What are we not doing so well? We don't know what's ahead, but we do know that we're going to have limited numbers for a number of reasons moving forward. So we operated on a fairly high volume of patrons, and we know that's going to be severely restricted for the immediate future. So we had to work out, the three controllable expenses we deal with are wages, cost of goods, and gross profit levels, and marketing. So we're making sure those three areas are kept in check. And, we've got no holes in the bucket as we move forward, and that's all we can do, really. So.
Yeah. And it's just that unfortunate time where there's nothing else you really can do except for sort of look inward and sort of see what you can do better once things ease up.
Yeah.
And I think we're at that stage now where restrictions are beginning to ease, they're beginning to lift. We're seeing patrons be able to come back to the pub. We're seeing cafes fill back up and restaurants slowly but surely, of course. And so I think it's fitting now to ask you what you think the road to recovery, specific to the Southern Gold Coast and the hospitality industry on the Southern Gold Coast, what do you think the road ahead looks like?
Yeah, awesome question. I think it's really interesting. One of the things I think we've done really well at the Coolangatta here was understand different things happen at different times of the year for us. What's really clear for us is, school holiday time, there's Christmas holidays. The elderly folk come up and stay for a couple of months at a time. They get some good deals. The Kiwis come over, and they're pretty cashed up normally. They're self-funded retirees, so that point alone is going to be severely up. We're going to get hampered a fair bit. So we don't know where that's going. We've got a situation where we think we could have to deal with our local. Open up again, we're still hampered by a restriction in numbers. So at the moment, we are going to open up on Saturday with 3 defined areas of 20 people. So it's 60 people at one time. So it's going to be a challenge for us.
And I think it's just one of those unique challenges right now that's going on with restrictions on the amount of people that can enter a facility or enter a business and so forth. It's a real big ask for businesses, especially when the whole idea of your business is getting as many people as you can in and sort of creating. And the Surf Club throughout the Gold Coast, it's known as like a community place where we come together and eat together and drink together and laugh together. So obviously that's a big ask for the surf club industry and for the hospitality industry to sort of not have so many people in. It just probably isn't that easy, is it?
Yeah, well, we've already seen a couple of venues around just with our normal travels. I'm sure everyone has that, seem to be paying scant regard to the rules and regulations, but you can't focus on that. We've got to do what's right. We've always been that way. But, it's sort of, it is a thing where, I think to be positive, we're really well placed on the Southern Goldie. When the borders open back up again, we've got an airport right there. We've got, loads of accommodation. It's a great place to be. Gold Coast, families and such don't like sort of so much getting up around the Surfers Paradise region. I like being down south of there. I know there's going to be a mammoth amount of deals on for people. So it's going to be great when the government can open the borders up again, which is who knows when.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, which probably leads well into my next question, which is we obviously, some would argue we've jumped over the biggest hurdle. Some say there's more to come. My question to you, with regards to the hospitality industry on the Southern Gold Coast, what do you foresee being our biggest challenge on the road ahead?
Oh, that's a massive question, that. Yeah, the unknown, I guess. It's the unknown. Like I think one of my directors said to me the other day, when do you think we're going to become profitable again? I said, well, there's a lot of factors are going to contribute to that. I mean, one thing's JobKeeper. We had half of our workforce on JobKeeper. We're going to start back up with all of the JobKeepers, and so there's half our workforce still in a business. So huge challenge there. So that means there's going to be, in my case, 30 people on the unemployment line. The uncertainty is when the border opens up, how much money people have in their pocket. I know they're going to be keen to get out and have a drink and a feed and have a holiday. I think the industry is going to need to throw some deals around, but that in itself could be a problem too, Zach. In regard to, we've got to be careful we don't try and undercut each other and become a race at the bottom. So that's another issue. So we've got to remain profitable. We've got to remain relevant, and just be, I think internally just be on the ball, be really agile, adapt to any changes that come ahead. And like I said before, our strategy of trying to stay as informed as possible with the communications, and then I guess I can explain. Like we'd look ahead 4 weeks or 6 weeks ahead, and we'd only operate in 2-week blocks. But what would happen is, when we get to that 6-week mark, it's not a surprise to us. We can move fairly quickly to adapt to whatever the situation is. So.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point earlier with regards to the Southern Gold Coast. This is where we don't really, well, we're certainly not the glitter strip. We get a lot of locals. We get a lot of families on this end of the coast. That's why they come down here. It's a serious community feel down here. It's got its own identity. And so what do you think will happen here? I was speaking with businesses down on the Southern Gold Coast recently, and there's sort of toing and froing as to whether or not locals really have the time, really have the money right now to head out and start spending. Do you think it'll be a mass rush to the surf club, or do you think it'll be a slow trickle into a nice rain?
Yeah, well, it can be a slow trickle because we've only got limited space. So, but look, our phones opened up this morning at 10 o'clock for bookings, and we got smashed. So, look, I think I remember back years ago, Zach, when my parents had a pub, and back in those days, the budget had come out, and they'd always smash the drinkers and the smokers. And my old man would say, the Prime Minister always say, tighten your belts, and we go, yeah, right. And look, and what had happened is we'd be quiet for a week or 2 weeks maximum, and then everyone goes, "Oh, bugger this," and I head down the pub, So there's a bit of that. I think Aussies and certainly Gold Coasters no different. We like to get out with their mates, and I think that's anybody would say that's what they miss the most, is being able to socialise with their friends and family and not being told what to do. No one likes that. I think we'll bounce back quite quickly, to be honest with you. So. Yeah,
and I think that I'm sceptical on this sort of idea of a new normal, just because I think we're creatures of habit. And one of the first things I did when I was able to go down to my favourite cafe and get a coffee was head straight down there, sit down in the cafe and have a coffee, because it's just different. You feel, obviously right now there's a feeling of support, like you're helping them, but also I don't know, there's a bit of pride in there, a bit of community pride in heading down to your local cafe, your local pub, and spending a bit of money.
We all want to support our locals, and we feel that a lot. And it was before when I said about the membership of clubs. A lot of people take it very seriously, and there's things like, there was a CUB put a Love Your Local campaign through with buy a pint and they donate a pint. People love. It's no different with the local cafe, their local business. They're loyal to them. So I reckon it's I think it's going to be okay. But that people love to go out, mate. So we're in that industry. We're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's very true, especially on the southern Gold Coast. My question to you now is, if I were to own a hospitality company, if I owned a cafe, if I was running a surf club like yourself on the southern Gold Coast, what should I be doing now to plan for the road ahead, and where should I be looking? What sort of support could I get if I was looking?
Yep. Good question again. You've researched well, mate. I think one of the big words I like to use is relevance. Be relevant to your market. And like what we did was go, look, let's have a look at ourselves. I mean, I was real guilty of coming to work and just getting caught up in the day and then going home. And we've had the time to sit down and go, look, who are we really catering to? Are we true to ourselves with our values and so forth? You know, what are we naturally attractive to, and do we represent that with our offer? You know, I think we've probably slightly skewed from that in the last couple of years. So we've been able to refine that. Time will tell with how successful that is. But so just as I said, we've been able to remove some overheads. We're coming back with some I think better aligned offers. But you know, we're reaching out to the government. You know, they've got. It's absolutely in their best interest to you know, get businesses back on track and get them. The best thing that they can do is allow us to get back into a profitable situation for a number of reasons. We've got industry peak bodies like Clubs Queensland, Surf Life in Queensland have been great with information. So yeah, and personally, I reach out to other colleagues in the industry across all different clubs and pubs and just chat, have a good word with anybody really. I'm happy to chat and bounce ideas back and forward. And I think there's you know, at the moment anyway, with JobKeeper and some other little things that the government are doing, it's sort of enough for us personally. We were able to. Luckily enough, we're able to put some cash reserves away in the last 2 years. We've sort of been able to live on at the moment. But, you know, if they pull JobKeeper out from us, we're going to be in a bit of trouble, I say. So where we are. But.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think you're too right at the beginning there, where I do think, you know, for businesses, it's very easy, especially if you're managing a business, a small business. It's so easy just to go day by day and focus on getting that done. It's the hard part's really looking at the bigger picture. And I think that might actually also be a silver lining in there. It gives business the opportunity to start to say, look, I have the time now, or the opportunity now, or I really have to at this stage, start looking at that bigger picture and reach out to other businesses and see what they're saying and see what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah.
And I might be a little bit biased when I say the best way to do that is to become a member of the Greater Southern Gold Coast Chamber of Commerce, but I'd always say connect.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's just and don't be frightened to, you know. I mean, I'm a big advocate for mental health awareness. It ain't weak to speak. It's like same thing. I'm 55 years of age. I'm not frightened to ask anybody for advice. I'm happy to give it to. Don't worry about that. But you know, it's just reach out, talk to people, and it doesn't matter who you talk to, whether they run a news agent or they run their own business or they're even just anybody. I mean, everyone's got.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you'd be remiss not to at this stage reach out and have a chat to your neighbour and see what they're doing today.
Yeah, but hasn't that been wonderful in the early days of this shutdown, where we were able to really reconnect with our families and our neighbours? And I remember my family was really good, I reckon. So
yeah,
just that's a bright outcome, you know.
I think I called it an enforced holiday. It was nice to have the opportunity to stop for once in a while and actually see I do have a family and I do enjoy a bit of time with them.
Yeah, I laughed because everyone was rushing out getting board games and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, this is all good. And I got a 15-year-old and a 7-year-old, and to be honest with you, we still have it hasn't ended up the way we planned it to be. It's like, it's back on the phone and, you know, into the social media.
Yeah. Well, I pulled out a book and didn't turn a page, so I'm guilty for that. I'm one of those people.
At least you picked the book up, mate.
And that's rare. So what I'll do, I've got my final question for you here now. It's just a bit of fun and a chance for you and for the viewers to get to know who you are. The question is, as restrictions ease, what are you most looking forward to returning to? But I'm also going to chuck in a sort of sub question into that, because obviously you are the general manager of the Surf Club Coolangatta. So I'm going to ask as well, what are you most looking forward to returning to as restrictions ease? And what is your favourite beer or favourite drink that you serve at the bar?
Oh, classic. Gee, I'll tell you. Look, I'm looking to return back to, I don't want to use the word normal, but like some regularity of business. So we're a bit more the way we work.
Yeah.
Back and not have to miss out. Like, I mean, we're already seeing, there's limits of 10 per booking, and people saying as, oh, I've got 15 in my group and there's 5 coming from the sun.
Yeah.
I just want to get back to being able to provide hospitality services. I'm a member of the Surf Lifesaving Club as well, so we've just finished looking that's the purpose of our club, and I know those guys have worked tirelessly through the season. Even when the beaches were closed, we still had to come and do patrols. So I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
I must say I've developed a bit of a love for the glass of wine with dinner at night. So I've discovered a couple of really nice red wines actually, Zach. So I'm a bit keen on that. And look, we've redone our wine list too, so I've done a little bit of sample testing there. So yeah.
Yeah, I would have no doubt.
McLaren Vale Shiraz is my go.
Well, there you go. I'll write that down. I'll try and remember next time I come on down, and we'll share a glass, I reckon.
Well, not at breakfast time, mate. We normally do breakfast for you guys, so it's red wine with the scrambled eggs might be so good.
Oh, I'm daring. Is that what lockdown's done to me, I think?
We could have a go, of course.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today as we talk about the hospitality industry. Obviously, we could go on for hours and hours about it all, but I do want to extend a thank you for joining us. And of course, if you had any parting words of advice for small business on the Southern Gold Coast.
Right. Well, thanks very much for your time, Zach. I've really enjoyed meeting you online. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person for a coffee or something. Look, it's my advice is be positive. Just look at what people are doing. Like in our case, we've been able to. I want to reopen with an impact, and we've changed our uniforms. We've changed a little bit. Reach out and talk to your mates, talk to your colleagues, and I think, as I said to you by email, I've quite enjoyed being able to provide with my younger colleagues and stuff. So I really like that, and I know for a fact that's had a big impact. I've got a mate of mine who's quite young and managing his first club, and he had some huge, what I was talking about, massive issues, and I was able to sort of calm him down and just help him through that little period, and he's now flying, so I'm really happy with that. But just reach out. It ain't work to speak in any sense, so look after yourselves.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Steve. And thank you for those who tuned in for today's episode. We're looking forward to seeing you in subsequent episodes to follow. And please don't forget to like, share, tell all your friends. And when you are feeling up to it, don't forget to head on down to the Surf Club Coolangatta and share a nice cold beer.
And join the Southern Gold Coast Chamber of Commerce. They're awesome.
Doing my job now. That's it.
Yeah, mate. You're fantastic.